Here's the main event. We'll talk about some quick signings afterwards, but okay. I love the Canucks as well. Oh. So they pull out a deal. I remember seeing the notification for this trade and thinking, "Oh my goodness, this cannot be happening." The Canucks have finally acquired Oliver Ekman-Larsson. By the way, he is 12% retained on his salary, and they also receive RFA Connor Garland.
Good player.
Which is all right, okay. You know, Arizona. It's kind of weird. Now, the issue kind of comes with the Coyotes in return get the 9th overall pick. That was pretty all right. A 2022 second, a 2023 7th, and they trade the contracts each with a year left, and they all had trade protection, by the way, which is hilarious that Benning pulled this off. Antoine Roussel, Louis Eriksson, and Jay Beagle. First off, the Coyotes are going to be awful next year. Now, in essence, I'm going to read you a Frank Saravelli tweet. Great guy. Canucks essentially traded one more year of paying $12 million in cap hit between Eriksson, Roussel, and Beagle in exchange for a better team next season with Garland and OEL, but potential long-term cap hit consequence with OEL at $8.25 million until 2027. Again, 50% of that is retained. And, oh, wait a minute, they need to also re-sign Connor Garland. And at the same time, Quentin Hughes. And at the same time, Elias Pettersson. And by the way, OEL is declining and is one of the highest paid defensemen in the league. What do you know? Isn't that just the theme of the episode?
I don't know what they're going to do. Like, I'm just genuinely concerned for the Vancouver Canucks. They want to trade Nate Schmidt, who has 4 years left at 5.95. I'm sure a team would be willing to take him, but I don't know what you're getting and possibly getting in return for that. They have Adam and I had this discussion before you hopped on, Daniel. They have $21 million in cap space, have to re-sign Jason Dickinson, who they just also acquired, Connor Garland, Elias Pettersson, and Quinn Hughes. So, and they're going to go short term. We already know this team can't afford long term for Hughes and Pettersson. How? Like, I just feel like we're kicking the issue down the line.
Yeah, it's baffling to me now when you look at that defense where, OAL might also bounce back as well. Sure. Because he probably hated in Arizona. Yeah. That they're going to be better next year, but again, like, I'm just looking at Tyler Myers and OEL getting that cap hit, like both of them together. And it's really crazy to me.
The question is, when will OEL be traded back to Arizona when his contract looks horrible?
Well, to be fair, Alex, he does have a no move clause, so he is blocking it. Shoot. It's hilarious that he opted to come to Canada. By the way, the cap hit for OEL now is 7.26. The other defensemen they have under contract: Myers, Jack Rathbone, and again the guy who it looks like they're going to trade because it's not working out, Nate Schmidt. Also, kind of interesting that both Connor Garland and Jason Dickinson are arbitration eligible. Which is not great. Now, I think we should try and be positive about the Canucks here. You guys know I'm a fan of Oliver Ekman-Larsson.
Yeah.
And even at that cap hit, and he's not as good as he used to be, he's probably their second best defenseman. Yeah. I love the fact they got Connor Garland. I'm super jealous they have that. That's a good player that the Canucks fans... I hate to kind of say this because this guy had some injury problems of his own, but it's kind of like a younger version in my eyes and probably more skilled of Michael Furlan. Who, God, I wish that guy, like health wise, you wish him the best. And not to mention, like, they're going to get some sort of cap relief in some way with Jake Buchanan being bought out today. It's a $50,000 cap hit. Next year will be $500,000. Maybe they're not done. Like, people have been interested in Holtby, but for what the Canucks need to do, because they have to win. That is, the Canucks have to win next year, or else Benning will be gone. So in what they are trying to do, Their
You can't even
objective
say it
of
with a straight
becoming
face. You
a
can't even.
better
You can't even say it with a straight face.
of their goal of becoming a better and improving their team, I think they've done an excellent job. I'm now concerned that they're going to trade Brock Besser because like the salary could get really messy there, and it just seems to be. And teams were calling about Besser. They weren't chopping him, but there were reports that he was getting some interest. So I'm worried, but at the same time, to an extent, I think the Canucks are gonna they're not gonna win the Pacific because Vegas. I think they're gonna make a divisional spot, and I'm trying to say I like the move, but like I can't really get it out by looking you guys in the eyes through the camera of my Mac. But I'm trying, Vancouver, and I've had a very rough relationship with the Vancouver Canucks on this podcast, but I'm gonna give Benning the credit here. He did something creative. He did.
Sure, yeah.
I give him a B minus.
He did something that he said he didn't want to do, which was have to trade picks to receive cap space relief. And then he used that cap space relief to bring in 7.25 Oliver Ekman-Larsson. So this is the reason I'm not entirely sure what on earth they're doing. The rumor that was going around is that they wanted $15 million allocated towards Pettersson and Hughes. So in that theory, they would be left with $6 million to then sign Connor Garland and Jason Dickinson and then fill out the rest of their roster. Like that's where the concern is for me, is how are you, like, I believe that Jim Benning wants to win. I believe that's every GM wants to win. How are you going to win with no depth? I, a Maple Leafs fan who watched that, just said the team, there's no depth. Like, I'm telling you that you kind of need depth.
And then if they do trade Holtby, they're probably going to have to retain, but then you need to get a replacement for him. You're also probably, like, if you trade Schmidt, then there's room to get a defenseman there. But then, and this guy's not going to cost you a lot, but there's only Levy. Like, you'll to your point, you'll fill bodies there, but it's just the quality there. It's just going to be, it's not going to be great.
I know this is a high standard, but because not every team is Tampa Bay. But when you look at Tampa Bay's third line of Gourde, Coleman, and Goudreau, I don't see that here. I don't see anything close to resembling that type of third line as Vancouver's third line.
It's way too top heavy. I think that they're going to expect Pettersson, Besser, or even Horvat to have like those breakout years where they could still try to hold on to those, like, the anchor, the offense. But again, like, it just Vancouver, they just seem gutted in a way. And when I look at their, like, that's silly Podkolzin, maybe he'll surprise us.
Yep.
But again, like, he's going to be a guy that has to play in the top six. And now again, like, I look at those bottom pairings, and it's just funny because like it's like another cycle of things where you look at like a Jay Beagle or you look like an Anton Roussel. These guys you want to play in the bottom pairings, but like, really, are you going to overpay other guys again to plug in there?
You're going to have to. Vancouver. They're going to, remember Benny said they're going to be aggressive in free agency too. So there's a move coming. It's going to be.
I bet everyone was so happy to hear that in Vancouver.